Hello, welcome to the live stream, and that is the sound of my clock going off right above me, which is great. Hello, welcome. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Hopefully everything will work, because while Aaron is in the country to troubleshoot, he is stuck under a cat, and incapacitated by cat means there's no hope. He cannot in any way help. So, it's lovely to see you all. Looks like we've got a good crew today, especially considering that the topic for this live stream was just whatever I want to talk about. I really need to come up with a standard thumbnail that I can just post when I don't have a plan rather than feel this pressure to come up with a topic. So things I thought we would talk about. One, I did my August 2023 final numbers. So if you want to see that, we could talk about that. Moving was not as bad financially as it could have been. I did spend $130 on restaurants last month, which is 4 times what I usually spend, but whatevs. More than 4 times. I thought we could talk a little bit about the Chinese economy because what's going on in China is kind of like the upside down from most rich economies in the world. So I thought it could be kind of interesting to talk about what's going on. In typical Chinese government style, the stats about the Chinese economy are not going well. So they've just stopped reporting the statistics. Which has not escaped the notice of Chinese folks. And they have been trying to find ways to make fun of the government for the fact that they don't like the numbers. So they've just decided to stop reporting them. So that's going on with China's economy. So we can talk a little bit about that. China is the second largest economy in the world. And so obviously what's happening in China affects you whether or not you live in China. They are also an export economy, and if you live in a rich Western country, you probably do a lot of trade with them. So other things that are happening, the Hobonichi Day happened, where the new Hobonichis were released. I did order one, and I said I wasn't going to, and then I did, because I talked about last week how I had this I got this cute little Weeks for $12 off Amazon, and I was going to try it out as a skating planner. It turns out I don't have enough to put in a planner for skating, by itself. Maybe if I was a competitive skater and I was prepping for a bunch of competitions and I had to keep better track of my program. But just skating 5 to 6 hours a week the way I currently do and not being a competitive skater, I don't really need to have a whole planner for it. However, it's really cute and I really like it, and it might just be my work planner. And so I ended up ordering one from the local store where I can do local pickup so I don't have to pay for shipping they came out at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and I ordered one at 7:01 p.m. and I just got it, and it's gonna come when I know people have already received theirs, but they don't have their order yet at the local shop that I went to. So and I also ordered the Aura Estelle cover that I was talking about last week that was on sale for the Weeks. So I have already started the full-on process of buying new things, new toys for the new size of planners, despite the fact that I did a whole live stream about not buying into the overconsumption. And finally tackled printing things on our sticker printer because I've kind of previously relied on Aaron to do it. And so now I've opened up a whole new world of printable stickers that I can get. So that isn't the topic every week. I mean, it is the topic every week, but usually we're more focused. I need a 15-minute timer. Can you put one up? No, I don't have a timer. So, but I can ask Alexa. Alexa, set a timer for 14 minutes. There we go.
14 minutes, starting now.
I don't know if you can hear that, but our Alexa is in cat mode. Wow, new setup. Wow, panda mug. Wow, view. Sprinkle-based donut. Oh, I forgot to introduce the donut. Okay, so I will say the donut was cuter earlier, but I no longer live right next to the donut shop, so I have to transport it, and I didn't do the best job at it. This is bubblegum flavored. So it's got like bubblegum sprinkles on it, and then this is bubblegum flavored. I don't have high hopes for my own tastes, but it's interesting. So we'll see what that looks like. But yes, it's good to see you. Also, I will say that like this art and this donut, they exist in the same color palette, and I find that particularly exciting. This piece of art was done by my aunt Claudia, who is was a professional artist for a very long time, and she, I think, did that when she was like in her 20s, but she sent it to me because she was like, "You need that." Threed says marked safe from Hobonichi. Yeah, except I'm not. Not marked safe from Hobonichi. I did get the wallet. Oh yes, talk about the Hobonichis. I'm currently journaling in my A6 Techo Hobonichi forever. Well, I, have moved away from the cousin, and I got the Sterling Ink A5. I've pre-ordered that. I caved on Hobonichi. My order shipped today. I was looking at the Ara Estelle cover again this morning. It was on sale last week, so that's why I got it. I don't know. Y'all, I got a raise at work, which is great. And initially, I wasn't even thinking about doing anything other than saving it. And then someone pointed out that I'd been waffling on whether or not at the end of my 30-day trial, I was going to join this yoga studio I've been going to. And they were like, well, you got a raise. It sounds like you could join the yoga studio and you would be no worse off. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I could spend the money on things. I will also say 'tis now that we're moved and we're into the season of my schedule's a little more normal. Pedalpalooza is done, and I'm about to start back up all of the workshops that I teach with homeless foster youth, and then also some of my paid workshops. So I just feel like now is the time for a new planner system, obviously. I'll buy Hobonichi in spring instead. I mean, great. My 3-year-old just said Lily from the bike ride with the donuts. Correct. Oh, but we also did the stationary ride with you. Great. Hello. Well, it seems like I've accidentally become a planner channel anyway, so... Did you just say Alexa is in cat mode? What's that mean? I don't know if the microphone picked it up, but our Alexa meows whenever it does anything. Also, it's so excited because I keep saying its name. Yeah. So it meows. It will also purr when it sets timers. I don't know. It's very arbitrary. I think if you ask it to tell a joke when it's in cat mode, it will tell only cat related jokes. I'm not going to say that it's necessarily a great improvement over Alexa. But that's what's going on. Should we start with the economic news so that I can keep up the pretense that I am not just a planner channel and that I am actually here for economics? Oh, before that, it's a little bit of an early promo, but if you are someone who is thinking about doing it, Budgetober is going to kick off October 1st. It's on the Oh My Dollar forums. Go to ohmydollar.com/Budgetober. It'll send you to last year's post, but I'm about to switch it all over. You get free, extremely cute cat Halloween themed stickers. Special edition for free if you participate in Budgetober. It happens. This is our 5th year of Budgetober. It is a very friendly budgeting challenge. You kind of set your own rules, but then you get the community support and check-ins, and you get cute badges on the forums. And it's really good if you're looking at kind of resetting your budget in a category. For example, maybe you just moved and everything about your core expenses have changed and you want to do a check-in month. You don't have to do super granular budgeting. It doesn't have to be a no spend. There's a bunch of different ways to make it work for yourself, but it's a good way to focus on financial stuff. And October is usually a pretty good month for people to do financial stuff because for most folks, there's not a ton of like holidays or trips. School's already started. So for folks that are on a September through June school schedule. And so it ends up like working out fairly well for a good like kind of baseline budget month. Anyway, Budgetober is starting. So, get in all your Hobonichi orders now before Budgetober starts. So, we will be doing more budgeting videos in October because it's Budgetober. So, I'll always do like a series of different budgeting videos. I will probably be doing a budgeting app review video again soon. If you are interested in trying out any of the new budgeting apps and getting stickers for it, that will also be posted on the Oh My Dollar forums. So, no holidays. I have several. That's true. There's fewer major holidays, and most of the major holidays this year, Jewish major holidays are all in September this year. So, but yes, sometimes there are ones but there's such 2 minor-ish holidays in October this year as far as the Jewish calendar. So, there's just fewer very costly events for a bunch of people. Wow, my entire financial situation is so different from last year. This will be interesting. Yeah, I think it's like a fun way to do, even if you only do Budgetober each year. A lot of people will just do it for like one portion of their budget rather than doing it everything. How did you put it in cat mode? Did you meow at her? I have no idea how we put it into cat mode. I don't know how to get it out of cat mode. It was definitely like a setting that I selected at some point. I think we used to have the Alexa that had like the screen and it would just randomly suggest things to you all the time. It was very annoying. And now we don't have that. We actually have like a Sonos speaker. I don't know. Things change with home automation in this house and I just accept it and move on with my life. But the one that we had on a screen, and sometimes it would like tell you new features that it had. And I think at some point it told us like, you can put me in cat mode. And so I was like, sure, I'll put you in cat mode. And now that's just how our Alexa is. Maybe it's time I join Budgetober. Well, I'm giving you warning. You've got like a full, oh yeah, Sukkot is in October. That's fair. That's not a very minor holiday. I would say Simchat Torah is a minor holiday, but I mean, to each your own, how you describe it as. All of the big Jewish holidays are on the weekend this year, so I can't miss school. Wait, one of them goes over into Monday. Of course, the hardest of the holidays that isn't particularly fun, but Yom Kippur is on a Monday. Part of it is on a Monday. Yeah, I work on all of the Jewish holidays this year because I work on the weekend. So, okay. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the Chinese economy? I was talking about Budgetober enough. Are people interested in what's going on in the Chinese economy? Well, I mean, a lot of people are interested, but the government isn't reporting it very well. So I guess we can talk about how we don't really know what's going on. But I mean, it's like all things with China. Yom Kippur is on Monday. Yeah, see? David's tuning in with all of our. So you can miss school on a Monday if you want to, and go apologize to a bunch of people. Okay, Annie is interested in the Chinese economy, so we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. So, some background. I have done a couple live streams talking about the default of Evergrande and Country Garden. So, those are both big Chinese housing firms. The Chinese housing market is responsible for about a quarter of the Chinese economy. It is extremely important to the Chinese economy. And there have been like pretty massive layoffs, but Evergrande defaulting was a really big deal. And I devoted, I think, at least 2 different live streams to kind of talking through it. Because if you don't understand like all of this background about like how the Chinese housing market is funded and the 3 red lines policy that Xi Jinping implemented, it's you've got to have a lot of background before you can even kind of understand that. We can't go too deep into the Evergrande country garden kind of default, but what you really need to know is the largest of the property developers in China are all experiencing either default or like are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and there will not be a public bailout for these companies. One of the reasons that this has such a large effect on the Chinese economy is because of the very unique way that these companies both raise funds for building housing. Actually, there's 3 reasons why this is like what happens in China does not happen elsewhere. 1, Chinese nationals, like mainland Chinese nationals, cannot invest outside of China very much. It's much harder for them to go out and buy stocks of Google or foreign countries' bonds or stocks of non-Chinese companies generally. And Chinese as a nation have an incredibly high savings rate, which we will come back to. But that means that they put a lot aside. Because there's not that many vehicles for investment for mainland Chinese folks, it means that one of the ways that a lot of people will save and do investment is real estate. So that led to a lot of kind of speculative sort of financial instruments tied up in the housing market. And there was this policy called the 3 red lines that made it a lot harder for the property developers that are building all of the housing in China, most of the housing in China, which are private companies. They're not state institutions, which is notable in China because there are a lot of state-run companies, right? Of those companies, the 3 red lines policy that got implemented, I believe, I want to say 2019, was essentially a hard cap on how much debt developers could take on. A lot of these developers had a debt equal to 80% of their market cap. And one of the reasons that they had so much debt was to finance all of this rapid expansion and building. But what was important is that the people that the like public entities that are tied up in this are all of the cities in China, because local developments and like lower tier cities, you know, once you get out of the Beijings and the Shenzhens, local governments, the way that they like raise money as far as taxes is that they sell land to these developers. So when they see their land sales go down, which they have drastically because these developers are in default, then they struggle to pay back their debts, which means that a lot of the debts are financed by our bonds that Chinese investors are invested in, a lot of which the government owns. So, like the federal government owns these local bonds. So you've got like a bunch of layers, and even if you don't understand every piece of these layers, okay, the 15-minute timer is done. Alexa, stop. The 15-minute timer is done. There you go. You needed that, David. Even if you don't understand all the pieces that go together, like what a lot of people remember from the housing crisis in 2008 was that it was like a series of dominoes. The dominoes look different in China's housing market, but in many ways, the Chinese housing market is tied up in more parts of their economy. The way that these developers, many of which defaulted or are very close to it on their loans raise the way they raise money is essentially they kind of operate like on a Kickstarter model, like a pre-order model, where families, like usually sometimes 3 generations, 4 generations of people in a Chinese family will pool money together in order to prepay for like a huge down payment for an apartment that is not yet built. You get enough of those together, and then the developer uses that plus financing as sort of the backing for borrowing in order to build these apartments. But when 3 red lines was implemented, it meant that they couldn't borrow enough on top of those. And kind of their like pyramid scheme is I feel like it has negative associations, but like they would, raise money and then finance that and then build, and then they would use the next thing that they were raising money in order to like pay back the loans from that. So the house of cards toppled for a lot of these developers when there was limits taken out on how much debt they were, and the housing market is really cooling. There are too many houses relative to people that want to buy, which is very different than what's happening in the rest of the world. And that's one of the things that I talked about, where everything is kind of a little upside down in the Chinese economy. Their inflation is too low in the Chinese economy, whereas most of the world, it's too high. They have really high youth unemployment versus like the rest of the world. The rest of the rich world is currently dealing with, in fact, like recordly tight labor markets. And so one of the things is that while there is housing shortages in a lot of developed economies in the world, and even a lot of middle income countries are having like really tight housing markets in their big cities. China kind of has the opposite problem right now, where they've got all of these like unfinished homes, and protests are pretty rare in China for a bunch of reasons. And one of the things that I covered, I want to say like 6 months ago, when I was talking about the Evergrande default, was that some people were protesting by not paying their mortgages on these apartments. Some of them have been waiting years and years past when those apartments were supposed to be done. And because of all of those problems, nobody wants to go out and buy new apartments. And part of that is that there's very little social safety net in China generally, compared to like what rich developed countries experience. And that is one of the reasons that Chinese folks have such high savings rates. One of the other reasons they have such high savings rate is that they, don't get access to as many capital markets, for example, because they have a much more closed economy, right? But they have very high savings rates because they kind of feel like if anything goes wrong, they want to have the savings as a backup. This was one of the really notable things that during the really bad zero COVID lockdown policy that they had in China, that was like really detrimental to the Chinese economy for quite a long time. But during zero COVID, initially it was not really a problem with these really stringent lockdowns. Like an economic problem for people, even though they weren't getting paid. There's very little like unemployment pay in China compared to what, a lot of the Western countries kind of paid out. The Chinese government is not giving out stimulus checks the way that a lot of Western European countries, developed economies were giving out. But people have, but they have like really, deep kind of nest eggs as far as their savings rates are so extremely high. I think the average household savings rate in China is now hovering around 30%, which by comparison in the US, I think we're around about 2.6% as far as savings rate. US versus China are extreme ends, right? Like US has one of the lowest household savings rate. That changed a little bit during the pandemic, but that changed largely due to stimulus checks and student loan pauses. And it's pretty much back to normal now, roughly back to normal now in the US. Where was I going? I got distracted by the chat. So I'm going to check in on the chat and then we'll come back around. Let me know what your questions are, because we've only tackled one part of the Chinese economy now and what's going on right now. Threean says, I live close to China, so I'm quite interested. Yeah, you don't even need to live close to China to be affected by China, but I feel like it's more. This is true, but I have group discussion class on Mondays, so we're just meeting a different day. Oh. That's nice of them to move to a different day. Sarah Belly says, I've never done Budgetober, would love to try. We are closing on our first home on September 27th, so it'll be interesting. I mean, worst case scenario, you'll just find out how expensive it is to your first month in a new house, which might be kind of interesting. You could also track just like one category, like how much you spend on things for moving in, or you could be like, oh, I'm just going to track utilities because I want to know how much utilities are going to be in our new place. Annie says this is a bad circle. I'm assuming that refers to the kind of like rough loop that the property market is in China, which really, really is. Like there's a lot of it. Once again, it's a quarter of the Chinese economy. And it is also contributing to another really big factor, which is something the Chinese party leaders are very concerned about, which is dropping fertility rates in China. So, child had the one child per couple policy for a very long time. They've really loosened up on that, and now it's 2, maybe 3. But rather than that being a cap, it's actually kind of a goal, because China, the young people of China are at a below replacement rate as far as their, the amount of kids that they're having. Fertility is very, very low. Generally, Chinese party leaders are trying to fix that. But that is coupled with this issue, which is that there is youth unemployment in China, which is one of the statistics they stopped reporting when it started going worse than they wanted it to. And they're like, oh, it's because we need to change the methodology. But everybody knows that that's not why. This isn't only as a Westerner I know this. This is everybody in China knows and laughs at the fact that China just will stop reporting something if they don't like it. They're like, oh, we're doing some work on the stats and how we determine this. But youth unemployment is really, really high in China. And that is, in addition to the fact that youth generally, like we are seeing in a lot of Western rich countries, is that, the youth are applying, and by youth, I mean, essentially, let's say under 30, are they're overqualified for the pay rates that they are getting. The kinds of jobs the economy needs them to be doing is not what they've worked very hard and been kind of pushed into education for. And the amount that they would make doing really hard labor, like factory work and stuff like that, a lot of which are college educated, folks in China who worked extremely hard to get through education and pass the entrance exam for college and pass their courses. They are qualified for far more than factory work, and factory work is really quite punishing on a typical Chinese schedule, which a lot of factories and even tech companies in China were on the 996 model, which was viewed as a suggestion, but it's essentially you work 6 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And this was true for both factories and for kind of white collar tech jobs. Alibaba used to, claim that was a standard of work for everyone. And that kind of really hard work, a lot of younger people in China burnt out by the zero COVID lockdown policies and all of the economic uncertainty in the past couple years are not up for that anymore, which is that's happening, I think, amongst Gen Z in a lot of the world. In China, the way that it contrasts from the Chinese patriotic sort of ethos that the CCP would like people to have is very different. The way that they can talk about it is very different because, your ability to speak is freely is not allowed in China. And so a very common meme is the let it rot, which is sort of the disaffected youth meme around work culture. But this has led to a lot of people saying there's no way I can save for a home anymore because the wages are not like equivalent to what I would need to be able to do that. And that's delaying marriage, which is delaying kids. It's really hard to be a single parent in China, a single mom. It's like almost impossible. And especially in traditional employment. So the once again mentioning the lack of social safety net, but also like there's all these like bureaucratic reasons why it's really hard to be a single parent in China, especially single mom because of the like the family register that you need to be in and everything. Essentially, your kids can end up like kind of undocumented, which makes it impossible to do anything in China if you're a single mom. And this is true not even just for people that like for widows too. It can be really hard. Anyway, I got off track here again. But this is leading a lot of people view for marriage, home ownership as a requirement in China. Like culturally, there's kind of this belief that you should like young men should own homes if they want to propose marriage. And because of all of the things going on with the housing market right now, combined with the low wages relative to skill level that's happening among youth in China, it means that their fertility rate is dropping. The productivity per employee is dropping. And there's also some stuff going on with their currency. I don't know how much people kind of, I think their eyes glaze over when I talk about like exchange rate stuff. But if we want to talk about currency macroeconomics, I'm down. But do you have any questions that I can answer about the Chinese economy? Obviously, I am not in China. This is all through the lens of the journalism that comes out of China about the Chinese economy. So this is, I am not the authority on China, but it is very interesting what is happening. They have really very slowed down demand going on right now. Some of that is to do with foreign tariffs, but a lot more of that has to do with people are not going out and spending. Their consumer confidence is really shaken and people are saving, feeling like at any point the other shoe can drop and they might as well have some savings. But the problem with the saving is that really doesn't stimulate the economy. And even in a command economy like China, you can't force people to be confident. And I will note that the Chinese, Economic Statistics Office, essentially, once consumer confidence started being real low, they just stopped reporting a consumer confidence interval. 996, yeah, it's a whole thing. Little social safety net in China. Yep, we've implemented communism there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would claim that communism that China is not communistic, but I think anybody who's lived under communism would say that the perception of a social safety net and the way things are talked about as a social safety net are very different than how it is in reality. But yeah. Oh, David feels lousy. I hope you feel better. Let us know. Did you get COVID? I hope you didn't. It's really going around right now. They actually, I have to go in because I'm an on-air staff, but the reporters have to work from office like 2 days a week. And they've suspended the work from office requirements at my job for the next couple weeks because with school starting back up again, COVID is like out of control again. Okay, Annie wants to talk about currency. Do we really want to talk about currency? Because it's complicated. Yeah, I mean, it's very complicated. Sorry, I got very quiet because I was like reading the chat. Um, what to know, what to say about the UN? It's it's not doing as well as they would like. Um, I love it, but nerd, and you explain it well. Thanks. I appreciate that you think I explain currency well. I feel like it's very, very hard to explain because there's all these like basic ones. Okay. People want me to currency nerd out. So the Chinese yuan has always, because they are an export economy, meaning that a lot of their economy comes from their exports elsewhere. And they are mostly a hard goods export economy, which is why so many of our electronics that's around you, your iPhone, your laptops, whatever, they're all made in China. A lot of clothing is made in China, although less so these days. A lot more of that is made in like Bangladesh. But they are an export economy. So they need their currency to be cheap vis-a-vis other currencies. They like generally China needs to keep their currency cheap versus other currencies so that their exports are still attractively priced to other consumers. And they've done that using a variety of different monetary tools that they have available to them for a long time. But one of the problems that's happening right now is as all these other world currencies are inflating because of the really large stimuluses that they did during the pandemic, because there was a lot fewer individual consumer stimuluses happening in China, and you've got these really nervous, Nelly Chinese consumers that are like, the next apocalypse is around the corner. I'm going to save for a rainy day. I'm going to save. I ain't going to spend. What happens with that is that the growth rate of the Chinese economy is slowing. And China does not want to do what it needs to do to stimulate the economy. They're very skeptical about doing it, which is lowering the interest rates, which would drive investment. It would encourage spending. There's a couple reasons why lowering interest rates would not necessarily be good. Lowering interest rates could have a really negative effect on all of those bonds from the local property, from the local governments that have sold them. So there's kind of an interplay there. One of the other reasons is that was the cat trying to stage a protest about her food and failing. And now she looks very offended. I don't wonder if the mic picked that up. So that's what's going on with the Chinese yuan needs to lower interest rates. But because you also have all these consumers that are not necessarily terribly indebted because they have these really high savings rates, lowering interest rates does not necessarily encourage spending, right? If you lower interest rates on US consumers, what do they go out and do? They go out and buy houses. They go out and spend, if your people's students' loans interest rates, once they start paying them again, get lowered, they have more disposable income. They go out and spend that disposable income on things. Chinese consumers do not do that at the same rate. And they need that local stimulus. So without lowering interest rates, and the fact that lowering interest rates will not necessarily have the same effect on the economy that it would in other countries, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. They are, they're not quite at stagflation, because stagflation is what we talked about. Like that's the thing you're really worried about, when you've got inflation in your economy is that if you, are raising interest rates to try to tamp down on inflation, you might stagnate the economy. And then you've got both inflation and a stagnant economy. They are just not eager to lower interest rates. That also would have an effect, obviously, on the property market. And they don't necessarily want property developers to be borrowing more money because of all of the reasons. And those are one of the big borrowers, right, would be these property developers, because it's like almost a quarter of the Chinese economy, depending on which kind of measurement that you use. So that's roughly what's going on. They've been running into this problem of the yuan is essentially like at a 16-year low against the dollar, and we're one of their major trading partners. And because of that, it's like they kind of have to sell US dollars to buy yuan in order to slow the yuan's depreciation. And because they've got this depreciation vis-a-vis the US dollar, there are a lot of concerns if we're not out there buying from them. They essentially can have a stagnated economy. Yeah, I don't know. That was like me covering 10 different monetary issues in 2 paragraphs, but does that answer some of your questions? Annie says it's fascinating. I appreciate that you at least are pretending it's fascinating. I think that's enough on the Chinese economy. We've done half an hour on the Chinese economy. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think we'll eat a donut and then we can talk about planners. Since I'm actually a planner channel these days. Okay. It is donut time. Here's a donut. I'm sorry it's not as pretty as it was when I picked it up. It is a bubblegum donut. And I think these are bubblegum flavored sprinkles. We're going to have to see. Just a regular raised donut. Oh my gosh, it really does taste like bubblegum. It tastes more like actual bubblegum and less like the bubblegum flavor that medicine has. Look at all these very tiny little balls. These are absolutely bubblegum sprinkles. They're bubblegum flavored, but like, I don't think I'm just swallowing a bunch of gum right now because they're so tiny that I'm not chewing. The frosting is not as frosting as I thought it would be. Oh. Tugboat asked, any news on the donut strike? So this donut place that I get these donuts from, which is a really small shop. It's like, I think they probably have no more than 10 employees. Their workers voted to join Donut Workers United, which is an independent donut workers union. And the employer voluntarily recognized their union, which is notable when it comes to donut shops in Portland after Voodoo Donuts had to get in trouble with the National Labor Relations Board. They did like a strike on the Transgender Day of Solidarity this past weekend during Labor Day weekend as well. But it wasn't like a walkout strike. It was just like a demonstration. But I don't know what it was really about. Oh my God, there's a donut workers union. Amazing. Yeah, it was made by the employees at Voodoo Donut, who's like ended up getting retaliatorily fired. Voodoo Donuts is very well known in Portland. It was actually just ranked like one of the nationally most overrated tourist attractions, which I agree with as a Portlander. It's in a bunch of other cities now too. It's in Eugene. I think there's one in Colorado, and I think there's one in Vegas. All the places you think maybe a hippie tourist trap would be. Anyway, the voodoo donut workers were forced to work when it was like 115 degrees in a hot donut kitchen, even though like most Portland businesses were closed because it was like not sustainable, let alone to be like frying hot oil in a kitchen. Because like the AC was like, even if you did have AC like still was only cooling it down to like 98 degrees. For international people, that's like 45 degrees. It was like 45 degrees. And it was only cooling it down to like 35. So, is there one in Austin too? There might be a Voodoo Donuts in Austin. That would make sense. So I don't know if the other places are Donut Workers United unionized, but I will say, I think I've been considering doing a story on this for my job. I think we might have more more unionized donut shops now in Portland than any other place. Not sure how dough tastes with bubblegum flavor. I didn't think this was going to be good, and I kind of love it. The crunchy sprinkles, I don't know. I did not have high hopes for that donut. 4 out of 5. Would absolutely eat again. If you like bubblegum flavored candy, would highly recommend it. Didn't think I was going to like it, but they did a very good job of like the texture flavor mix. Oh, so coming back to the Voodoo Donut story, that's very hot. Yes, it was extremely hot. And also like most places in Portland like don't have AC, and even if you did have AC, it was like not effective. So an employee was like, we cannot work in this. They were having customers that were coming in passing out. It was so hot. And that wasn't even in the kitchen. That was like in the like main area. And so they were like, we're going to be dead anyway, because nobody is going to like dead. Like nobody is going to come in because they're mostly a tourist place, and no tourists were out wandering around in downtown in 115 degree weather. I can tell you that because I accidentally went into the office thinking the office would have AC that day. And then I had to bike home from downtown and there was no one in downtown. So anyway, that employee got fired for walking out when it was like unsafe to work in those conditions. And then it took like a year, but the National Labor Relations Board ruled that as it was retaliatory of firing because the person who got fired was one of the union organizers. And then Voodoo Donuts was like refusing to recognize them. However, I don't really know what happened with their demonstration this weekend. I don't think they were like demanding anything. I think they were it was like a show of solidarity. It was with several of the service workers unions. We're really turning into a union town, a service worker union town, because our New Seasons, which is like a bougie grocery store in Portland, and it was started in Portland, but it's now owned by like a venture capital fund or some private investment fund or something like that, way outside of Portland. But I think 8 of the stores are now unionized. But the New Seasons workers during Labor Day weekend this past weekend protested and like walked out of a bunch of the union stores because even though they voted to be unionized, New Seasons is using the classic labor busting tactic of improving conditions at the non-labor stores and not the unionized shops. So they like had a pretty draconian attendance policy where if you were late or absent without notice, I guess it would be a no-show. But even if you were late 5 times in a year, you would be automatically fired, which was that's pretty rough. And they've been fighting this in their like trying to get their MOU approved by New Seasons in the union negotiations. And New Seasons went and changed it to be a 6-month clock that it gets reset in versus a year clock at the non-union shops, the like 3 shops that are not unionized. And then so essentially it's kind of a bad faith negotiation tactic. So I need to try this place when I'm in Portland next. I agree. When you're in Portland, come have a donut. You can be a guest on the live stream if you want to evaluate them on the live stream. You can be off camera if you want and just provide me feedback of the donuts. Okay, what else are we supposed to talk about? 4 out of 5 planners. I'm kind of loving the Hobonichi weeks. I may have gone slightly mad, and I ordered a lot of different things, planner related things. In the past couple weeks, I'm chalking it up to I'm now moved and my brain needed to move on to a new organizing project. Also, it's like new school year time. And even though I'm not in school, I do teach a lot of youth through the foster youth programs that I do for Oh My Dollar, which, by the way, if you want to support and get cat stickers, you can do that with the Personal Finance Society, which you can join at ohmydollar.com/support. Anyway, seamless transition. But I start up all of that stuff. Like, essentially, we almost never have any workshops during the summer because it's really hard to get teenagers to show up to things during the summer. Part of it is that a lot of them get jobs during the summer and they're able to get like 40-hour-a-week jobs. And then they just are not coming to the drop-in center very much. So that's starting back up. One of the programs that I work with, like my class series, the financial literacy class series I teach, is like a requirement for them to get some scholarship money that's for homeless youth and transitional youth that like have aged out of the foster system. So in Oregon, they can get like free higher ed through the Oregon Promise if they were ward of the court at the time they turned 18. So if you're a former foster youth, when you age out, you can get totally free Oregon Promise. We also have Portland State University, which is like a state university. It has graduate programs. It's a university, but it is kind of like our city version of that. They now are like tuition free for low income folks. So you can get the tuition part of your higher ed covered if you fall into these categories in Oregon. But the issue is the other kinds of costs that you have, housing, all of those kinds of other things. So there is a private fund that will support them through a couple of these other centers. And one of the things that the donor wanted was that they take some like budgeting classes. And so that's what I volunteer and lead. And anyway, that's all starting back up. So that's my justification for why I need more planners. It's totally legit. I also just got my second check ever from YouTube. I get one like every 6 months, 6 to 8 months, because I make like the threshold for when you cash out is $100, and I make like $8 a month in YouTube AdSense. So I just got my second check. So I spent most of it on planner stuff. So everything's fine. Really, quite honestly, if I just wanted to get views and support my planner habit, I would just fully become a planner channel, because it seems like all of my best videos are either about Russian figure skating scandals or planners. But I keep trying to pretend that I'm still a finance channel. So anyway, I'm loving the weeks. It is really tiny though. And I feel bad. I have to finish this planner. So I'm still using this even though I'm using the weeks. And now I'm a little worried that maybe I'm just duplicating efforts. And I obviously am not going to do the whole year in here because I got it in August to kind of test it out. So I'm trying to like figure out how I can use two planners without like, I would hate to not finish my take a note planner for the year because it would make me feel bad inside. So let YouTube feed the habit. It's great. It's a very reasonable perspective to have. Did I tell you all that I got called for jury service too? Like a month-long grand jury. I don't know if I had gotten the notice last week during the live stream, but I'm going to have to hopefully get out of it because I also have to travel to go get my Croatian citizenship, hence the flags in the background, at the end of this month. And I can't really afford to take an entire month off work because I would still have to host on the weekend. So essentially I would be working between the grand jury and that like 7 days a week. And I'm supposed to like do a mentorship program at work. I don't know. Hopefully I can get out of that. Geograph Concept says, I actually come here exclusively for the donut reviews. Man, there's a lot of fluff on either side of those donut reviews. So the most economically sound move would be to stop making economical content. I will say, I do think that I've long thought that people come for the planner content, but they like me because I like slide in the economic stuff. So they feel like they're actually like coming to learn something or to like improve their finances or talk about financial stuff. But they really want the planner content. So it's like a little bit of sugar makes the medicine go down situation. I think I have some advantages to that. This is like, I have 200 videos on my channel now, and the vast majority of those are live streams because I publish like one edited video a year at this rate. So I guess. What if Trump's grand juries? I mean, grand juries work on a ton of cases, but I don't think he currently has any pending cases in the Multnomah County Federal Circuit Court. So weeks can be a catch-all then to sort things out. I actually kind of was thinking about doing it. This is like, instead of a catch-all, I might make this my like work planner and data tracker. I don't know. I'm struggling a little bit. Because I'm also still using, this is like, at what point do you have too many planners? I'm also still using the Traveler's Notebook for memory keeping, which is something I've never really done before. Like I've had a 5-year journal, but not like with pictures and stuff like that. And I've been doing this since July, and it's been working well for me. So I'm keeping this up, but keeping this up a 5-year journal and a take a note planner is like, at that point, I'm not planning things. It's not productive. It's just like a calming hobby, which is, I guess, fine. I mean, it's fine to have a hobby. It's fine to spend money on a hobby if you want to spend money on a hobby. But maybe that's like unreasonable. I thought most grand juries were 1 day a week. Ours is 4 days a week, but since I work on the weekends, it doesn't overlap with my work schedule, so then I would have to be like 7 days a week. But it's 4 days a week. I do love the economic info. Congrats. I'm assuming that's to the Croatian citizenship. Yeah, I found out very last minute, so now I'm very deep in researching outfits. So you will be seeing on my financial report from September is that I had to hurriedly buy a cute outfit for my swearing in ceremony. As a teacher, I know of the journal planner addiction. Traveler's Notebook's in a different category, so it's okay. See, you're all just enabling this. I did order a sticker from Salam Creative on Etsy that says, I don't have a problem, I have a hobby. And it was like all the planners. I come for the economics, I stay for the donut, and I'm mesmerized by the planners. I appreciate you all being here for whatever reason that you're here. Thank you for not forcing me to pick a topic. So I do think it's funny that the donut thing has kept up, even though I no longer live above a donut shop, because when I started doing the donut thing, I just thought, oh, this would make sense because I live above a donut shop. But it was my 200th check-in to the donut shop today. So, which is wild. I have 3 planners, one for work plus household / business plus health plus wellness. It's how do you keep up with all of them is my question. Because that's sort of the struggle with me, is that I like to finish things. I gotta figure out how to pause that clock while I'm live streaming, and also while recording, working from home and recording radio conversations with people. So how's the Croatian currency doing? Well, interestingly enough, Croatia just moved off the kuna, which was their own currency, to the euro at the beginning of this year. And it would be fascinating to do a live stream on the kuna to euro transition. I could probably talk to some people in Croatia about how that's kind of happening, and maybe also talk to some Croatian expats that still, yes. I think that would be kind of interesting. So, one of the big things with switching from the kuna is that they used to have a currency that was a lot cheaper vis-a-vis the euro because they are, like, a large part of their economy in Croatia is tourism from mostly other European countries. And so switching away from the kuna, it lowers friction for people traveling there for holidays, but it means that things are not necessarily going to be as cheap to people from Northern European countries, from people. Germany is one of the big groups. They're actually the second largest nationality of landholders in Croatia after Croatians. So there's a lot of Germans who holiday there, partially because when they were a communist country under Tito, when they were communist Yugoslavia, a lot of East Germans would go to Yugoslavia to vacation because they were allowed to essentially go to Yugoslavia because it was a communist country. And that kind of link has remained as like a vacation destination. Not to say that Croatia isn't a vacation destination for other Europeans, but that German-Croatian link is real. So yeah. I'm going to Croatia just for vacation next spring, so I'd love to hear more about their economy. Let's do maybe that's my topic when I live stream right after becoming a Croatian citizen. I can't believe I'm going to be a Croatian citizen in like less than a month. I hope. It's been such a long process that I'm not really going to believe it until I like literally have the passport in my hand. I just don't. Yeah. I'm not going to believe it until it really happens. We had to like schedule an email to go out at like 12:01 a.m. so that we could get in the queue to do the swearing in. I do not really finish all my planners, but it's important for me to compartmentalize life and work because they can't all fit in one planner. Yeah, right now, it's currently easier for me to fit my entire life and my work into one planner. And I think it's because I'm not doing very much right now, like on a me scale. So I don't know. I've weirdly been finding that I'm not doing nearly as much as I was doing. So I use the work one just for work. Household business I keep on my desk and use mainly at night on the weekend. Health wellness is smaller, travels with me, and mostly just tracks things. Your fan base, the enablers. That sticker is a big mood. Should I do another planner live stream next week? Should I just pretend that that's all I do these days? It's just planners. At some point, I just have to admit that that's what my channel is about. Okay, I have a question. As people who watch my live streams, if I had edited videos, would you want to watch edited planner videos? Like plan with me's that are just like a calm overhead sort of plan with me? Is that a thing you watch? because that does seem like a way to both create content and use my planners, which once again is contributing to that planner overconsumption spiral that I've talked about in other videos. But it's like fairly easy to make, and I do consume a fair amount of it. So planner with a splash of economics in this time slot is great. But if I made edited videos, let me know instead of just live streams, let me know if you'd be interested in Plan With Me's. I was thinking I could do a setup for this new one because Hobonichi gets views, y'all. But also just because it would be kind of fun to set up something like this far through the year. I've been trying out different layouts. I also got, I bought some like printable stickers that you can print yourself that are sized for the Hobonichi weeks. And it's so silly that I like got them to put them on old pages, but I just wanted to see how they looked. And the marginal cost is very low with my own cry cut. I enjoy the slight chaos of chat interaction. It is a little chaotic sometimes. Also, when I like am reading the chat and then it's just silent on the stream, I would still watch edited videos, and it's definitely a thing I watch. Help me pick out my work planner for next year. Sterling Ink, Sprouted, or Hobonichi. Okay, what do you need? What do you need in your work planner? What are the things you do? Do you do a lot of to-do lists? Do you have a lot of meetings? Do you need times? Is it going to stay on your desk, or is it going to travel with you? This will all inform my uninformed recommendation for your work planner. So does it go anywhere with you, or is it going to stay on a desk? Also, like, do you work in a messy environment? So do you need something that's like going to be more resilient, like with water, or I don't know, in a medical setting or something like that? Do you have a lot of to-do lists, or do you have a lot of meetings, and do you have a lot of recurring tasks? And yeah, those are my questions. Oh, and is lie flat important to you? I do watch those bonus economic content if you want to chat about it. Yeah. I mean, I don't do planning. I don't do budgeting on my planner, although I tipped in my little graph that I do for my own spending, which comes from YNAB and stuff, because I thought it would be kind of fun, but I feel like I need to work on the presentation for it. I haven't tipped in the August one yet, though. I'm using B6 Sterling ink for right now. Highly recommend. I am starting to wonder if I'm going to regret getting the A5 Sterling ink. I don't know why I did. I didn't want to spend a ton of time and energy on the Sterling ink pre-orders. I knew I wanted to get one and only one. And I was just, people were really stressing me out with the like level of chaos that they were going into. And I now think that I probably could have done a B6. I did the A5 that doesn't have like 365 pages in the back. So I did like the mini kind of A5 one. My philosophy was that there are going to be a lot of people that are willing to buy it. So I ordered it, and if I don't like it, I will sell it. It seems like a lot of people found out about the planner after the pre-order was already done. So I watch Plan With Me's at night when you don't usually stream, so recorded videos would be nice. Okay. All right. Y'all are trying to talk me into it. I would like the idea of like being able to set up something kind of calm, a calm Plan With Me would be kind of fun, especially because I have all of these stickers. By the way, I got printable skate stickers now because I was like running out of skate stickers because I mark every time I skate on my monthly calendar, and because I skate like 4 or 5 days a week, I was just running out of the stickers. So I got them printable. Now I can just do them all the time. I also need to get bike printable stickers if I'm going to be like tracking my bike rides in the Hobonichi, but I have been very frustrated at how many of the bike stickers are incorrect bikes that you could not pedal, and it is driving me a little nuts. I would watch edited videos. Lately, I've been listening more than viewing because I'm driving home at 5:30 p.m. That's fair. Yeah, you're at like the same time slot as me, I think, because you're in Vegas, right? She'll have them back in stock in October and November. Plus, there's going to be a ton of people selling. Yeah, if you want to do a sterling ink for next year, you should be able to find one. I am a little worried that things are going to be like priced up a little bit more. Okay, to-do list plus meetings plus recurring backs. Travels back and forth for remote work / on desk. I don't really care about tracking meetings as much. Huge to-do list person though. And I prefer lie flat because it's 100% necessary. Okay, and you were thinking about sterling ink, sprouted, or Hobonichi. Okay, I think Hobonichi could end up making a lot of sense if your to-do lists, if you need a lot of space for them. If you don't care about tracking the time as much, I would not get the Hobonichi cousin because like you don't need that full week layout. Not to throw another planner in there, but if you are a to-do list person, the take a note is a really good option. And it comes in a B6 and an A5. The B6 is probably a little more, and an A6 now, a little more portable. This is an A5. The Take a Note has the monthly calendars. It's got the forward planners. And so you can use that for like recurring tasks or meetings. But each day it's a week on 2 pages. So you get kind of an overview for the meetings on the first page of the week. And then you get a like column for each day where you can just do these to-do lists, but it has light numbers in it. So if you needed to do a meeting, you could use it for like kind of a time scale one. I do think the Take a Note might be a good option for you. But if it isn't too much space, the Hobonichi weeks could work really well, but it might be too small. Depending on if your to-do list is really long, it might be hard to only have this space for a to-do list. But what a lot of people do with the Hobonichi weeks for to-do lists is you kind of do an overview tracking at the front, super portable, does lay flat, and then you get the mega, which has pages in the back, and you can do the to-do lists on the back. And that's particularly good if your to-do list like will carry on for longer than a week. Then that is a good way to do it. Or if you like think you're going to fill up like almost a page every day, then Hobonichi weeks could be good. Yeah, I would definitely say mega weeks if you do go with Hobonichi weeks. If you do voiceovers, you can still chat about economics. It's true. I can chat about economics anytime, right? The chaos is delightful. I'd watch ice skating content. Okay, here's the thing. Ice skating content, my own personal skating content, is not going to do well on YouTube. And it's a ton of work to like film and set up. It does a lot better on like TikTok and Instagram. And frankly, I'm just not funny and short form enough for that. So, one thing that does well on YouTube as far as ice skating content is like gossip about skating. And that does really well. However, I don't follow international skating enough to do that. I don't keep up with all the drama. It really stresses me out to keep up with all the drama. I mean, like a teenager like ran away in Russia and then like the police had to look for her and like national media went and she like ran away from her coach this week. I don't know. There's just a lot going on. I can't keep up with it all. So I'm not going to do ice skating content on YouTube. I barely can make myself post on the timeline feed for skating content. I also mainly skate in a mall where it's really hard to film myself. So, because people walk off with your phone and shit. I love the idea of a planner advisor. I love that. I can make these if you help me find a correct bike. Oh yeah, you run a printable shop, don't you? You could use my actual bike as a model. I can send you the image of my bike. I would buy a sheet from you. Custom bike printables would be very cool. Mega weeks. Okay, look, we solved your problem, Rachel. I love being a planner advisor, like as just like randomly deciding what planner works for people. I give planner advice in my spare time too. I actually was thinking a really funny, like, edited video thing would be I used to write a financial advice column, and I was like, what if you write in your planner woes, and I like answer it as though it is an advice column in a YouTube video, like while I do planning. And the voiceover is like me solving your planner problem. And I was thinking it probably wouldn't work as well, like in a advice column form, like I did on Slate. But I was thinking it could work well as a YouTube video, like format. I don't know. It's kind of like those automated, those like AI generated terrible videos where they like just read Reddit "Am I the asshole" posts while like Minecraft plays on the screen, but like way more niche. Where I just like read and answer your planner dilemmas while A Plan With Me plays on the screen. I love this video idea. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Someone please email questions@ohmydollar.com with your planner dilemma, made up or not. You can just do it as a creative writing prompt, and I will make that video. I will make and edit and actually get that video out, because currently I find this very funny. So questions@ohmydollar.com. Rachel has a planner sticker shop. I'll email you the artwork for my bike, which is a physically correct bike. I do not have the patience for friggin' Silhouette Studio for like laying the things out, but I now can use the silhouette. I printed. Okay, well, we also had some issues last night where not all these got cut deep enough, which is like a weird problem. But I did go a little crazy and got several stickers, and now I've got sheets of stickers for the things that I needed stickers for. So but drop your shop if you want. If you don't want to out yourself, that's fine. But drop your shop in the comments if you can, so that we can promo it. I think you have quite a few people that would be interested in buying stickers here, because we all have problems. No one does it too, so it'll be refreshing to have. I think it might only be funny like once, but I will do it at least once. Planner agony aunt, right? That's I kind of love this. I love this because planner people invent problems for themselves all the time. Like we saw this with the Sterling Ink launch, where people were having full-on meltdowns over like ordering some planners. And I feel like planner people, we tend towards people that get into planners as a hobby versus like just journalers, but people that get into planners as a hobby tend to be on the more neurotic side of the spectrum, right? Like we're planners, right? Planners, sometimes synonymous with really anxious. And because of that, I do feel like sometimes like we are the problem, it's me. Because we invent these issues that we have for the types of planners, or like how we're not using them. Oh, like me, like the fact that I like bought a new notebook and I'm like, but I have to keep using this one all the way to the end of the year, which is like an arbitrary standard I've set. It's not like this is like a beautiful memory keeping. This is just a bunch of to-do lists throughout the year, but it'll feel incomplete to me, which is like absolutely a thing I've invented in my head. So we absolutely make planners for ourselves. Talking planners, eating plantains. That sounds amazing, but I feel like it's hard in Oregon to source plantains year-round compared to donuts, so maybe not. This is definitely a great idea. Also very easy to create shorts. Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I've never been great at the shorts thing, but yeah. I'm pretty sure the blade has finally gotten dull after 3 years. I ordered new ones coming soon. Yeah, I think that was like the problem that we had with the Silhouette. It only has one listing right now, but I'm building it out now. Well, I can help you by sending you some bike artwork for you to set up. Anxiously planning what planners I will use for next year's plans is my way to live. I know we like... I like that this is, I think, your first comment on the live chat this whole time, Scriblue. Like, we are, it's like a hobby to worry about the hobby, and I feel like not all hobbies are this way. Something that someone commented on one of my like planner videos that did well about like consumption in the planner space was that like it's a very genderized hobby, right? Where like vast majority of the people in the planner community are femme, and they were kind of saying like, well, like, yeah, sure, maybe we spend a lot on planners, but like it's nothing compared to what like typically masculine hobbies will spend. Like at least it's not cars, right? Or like other things. And I do have some comebacks to that because I can think of quite a few hobbies that are genderized female that are very expensive, like handbags being one of them. Like people that are handbag collectors, they spend atrocious amounts of money for things that they like don't take out of their house a lot of the time. And I do think there's some handbag planner crossover because of like the Louis Vuitton and the Kate Spade planner, like special edition ones. Luckily, I'm not susceptible to that. Luckily yet. I never thought I was going to have a traveler's notebook because I thought they were so kind of like too consumerist for me, but I've slowly fallen down the hole. But so like makeup is another good example of like, it's a hobby, but it is also a thing that can cost like a staggering amount of money. And it is a thing that can be luxury. So I think there's quite a few. Knitting is another example of a hobby that like, all of these are hobbies that should be gender neutral, but they do tend to be fairly genderized in society. And yeah. Aaron says, don't mind me, I'm just sitting over here planning my $10,000 staircase. I don't know if designing a staircase is anybody's hobby. It's a one-time thing. I don't think you're going to get through this process of designing this staircase and then be like, I need 10 more staircases. Carpentry is also expensive. Yes, that is a good point. Yeah. I have like I would love to do actually, this is probably next week's video. I keep pretending like we're going to talk about budgeting, but instead, I want to do another one talking about sticker shops and what I think sticker shops have done for stay-at-home parents and like what it represents as far as the like gaps in our society, as far as supporting mothers. And some of the things around the pay gap and why sticker shops have been so powerful at kind of filling some of those gaps. And it all exists within this like subgenre of planners. So I think that I was talking about that as we were printing stickers. I was like, I really need to talk about this talk about this on a live stream. So if LV makes better layout for their planner, I might consider it. Oh, Louis Vuitton. I don't know what their planner looks like inside. I didn't actually know that they had a planner inside. I just knew they made the planner case because I see it all the time on planner communities where people are like desperately seeking out the Louis Vuitton. I have not liked any, like I don't pay too much attention to high fashion, but I do track like a couple designers sometimes. I find exhausting to keep track of. It's kind of like Russian figure skating drama. But I have never liked much that I've seen that has been Louis Vuitton. So I really don't like logos stamped on stuff, which seems to be a lot of what their like leather goods are. So luckily it hasn't been a thing that I've been attracted to. But I know a lot of people that do ring bound planners that are rings people. They like Louis Vuitton for a lot of them is like the one. Home reno is the hobby, staircase design included. I guess ours isn't really reno, it's building something from scratch. I love that topic. That would be a great topic. Thank you all for like confirming all of my weird ideas today. The staircase, if you are interested, On our other channel, which is the House Files, which is our kind of documentation of building the triplex, which if you don't know, that's a thing we're doing. That's why my background is going to change again in another 6 months because we're living next to the triplex. Anyway, on the House Files, we will be having another staircase design video coming soon. So I think we might record it tonight after I'm done with this live stream. Depending. I don't know. Aaron has fully collapsed on the couch. I could show you, actually, if I was really mean. Aaron is fully collapsed on the couch. You're going to show me? Oh, okay. Aaron's going to show from his perspective. Are you on the Apple TV? And it doesn't look like someone who's about to film tonight because he's stuck under the cat. Here's the first staircase episode. Our Etsy shops are a household supplement to a single income. That plus I also do freelance work. Rachel, it sounds like I should interview you for for the entire I should interview you for my episode on planner shops. I think I might actually interview some people. Okay, so that's what it looks like from Aaron's perspective, is he's stuck under a cat. All right, we've been streaming for almost 90 minutes now, so I think we might need to be done. Before we go, tell me what you're looking forward to this week. And yeah, what exciting thing is happening this week? What thing are you looking forward to? I'm excited to start listing Budgetober because I am stoked about the cute Halloween budgeting stickers that we are going to have this year. I'm also excited because my new cover for my weeks might show up this week. Totally reasonable. And maybe I'll film a Plan With Me Agony Aunt episode. Please, if you have real or made up planner problems, you should email me at questions@ohmydollar.com and I will answer them. I missed this, but Rachel put their shop here, which is Fable Wilds on Etsy. I'm looking it up right now. Planners and Wine live podcast recording this week. That sounds amazing. Finally catching up on illustration and stamps after a busy week of organizing. I love how everybody seems to be planner related things they're looking forward to. The thing I'm looking forward to the Budgetober stuff, but also I'm reading Helen Thomas's memoir right now called Front Row at the White House, and it is really interesting. It's generally very fascinating, so I am enjoying reading Helen Thomas's memoir. It's been a while since I've dove into a good memoir. Okay, now I'm being attacked by the sun. All right. Well, I hope everybody looks forward to, enjoys all of their planner stuff this week, their illustration, their stamps, their Planners and Wine live podcast recording. And stay safe this week. Stay hydrated. Pet a cat if you have one available. And stay safe till next week. I will see you next Tuesday.